Hey everybody, and welcome back to Firestone Forge. Today we're here at the apartment. I've got one of my hides, because I got two deer hides. I got one of them. It's been dry for a while, salted and whatnot. I've decided I'm going to start processing them. So this is kind of the video of me starting that up. Now, I've never done this before. It's all new to me, so let's learn together. Can't hurt. It's fun. Something new. And besides, it becomes a very handy and useful skill for down the road. So, stick around. Let's see what we can't do. Okay, so first thing I have is a bucket picked up over there at Walmart, so that way I could use this without worrying about damaging any other bins or anything I have, and this will be my hide working bin. I've got some household lye. I'm going to use this to remove the hair off the hide. I also, of course, have latex gloves, or latex free, whatever works. And I've got eye protection and stuff like that. Now, when I'm done dehairing it, I'm going to neutralize it with the vinegar. I'm going to let it soak for another couple of days, make sure that the thing is non-acidic. I was talking with a gentleman, I don't even know if this is a necessary step, but I was talking with a gentleman who has processed several hides, and he says he prefers it, so why not? Let's give it a go. I mean, if it's not something that's needed, can't hurt to give it a try. So, this thing here is all dry and salted and hard, so I'm going to fill this tub up with water. I'm going to let this soak for a couple of days to help remove all the salt and whatnot. Then we're going to start removing the hair. So it's going to be a long video. Well, long for me, not for you. I don't care what you say about my gloves. I'll make these things look sexy. I'm just kidding. So because we're going to start playing around with the lye, protection is of course needed. I've got the bucket filled up with about 5 gallons or so of water. Now I decided to skip ahead because I'm lazy, or kind of eager to get this thing going. So what I did was I actually took this hide, put it in my shower for a little bit, and rinsed off a lot of the salt that was on there. And it actually made it a little more pliable, which will help getting it in there. So let's get to moving. So from what I understand, you want to use about 1/4 of one of these containers. So we're just going to eyeball this. I will call that good. Next, we're going to mix it up. Now, the lye looks thoroughly mixed in. I don't see any more granules in there, so it appears mixed in. Let's go ahead and take the hide, fold it up a little bit, and throw it in. As the water gets in there, it's feeling a little more pliable, so I'm actually able to move it around in here just a little bit, make it fit a little better. I'm going to keep playing with this thing, try and get it jockeyed into a good position here. As you can see, it's becoming very pliable. I mean, it's not anywhere near back to how it normally is, but it's moving a lot more than it was before. So just gonna keep on letting it soak for a little bit, and then we'll move it over. So here's where it's going to sit. It's going to sit outside here for a very little while. I'm going to check it in the morning. But my solution was I got a couple of rocks, heavy rocks, and I placed it on there. Made sure that they were clean first. And placed them on the hide so that way it would help submerge it. Now that little bit that's up right there, that'll be fine. it's still got a lot of solution on it and around it, and plus I'm going to readjust in the morning. It should definitely have become a little more pliable by then. I've got a lid that I'm going to throw on here because I don't want, you know, anything getting in it, and I don't want anybody, you know, getting into it either, like, you know, children or anything else like that. So we're going to check it in the morning. Alright, so for the next phase, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the hide out, which it's in here. We're going to pull the hide out, and we're going to use the nail and the hammer to punch. I tried to find an ice pick, didn't have an ice pick, and I don't have a leather awl. So we're going to punch a bunch of small holes around the edges of the hide, and then string it up on the frame. I have gloves to protect my hands. Now I went and picked up a couple of plastic scrapers. I figure, what the hey, you know, they're not going to hurt anything. I don't know how well they'll work. I honestly imagine not very well, but hey, it's better to try stuff and find out, you know, for a fact. I also have my knives, just in case I need to scrape with those. So, let's get it started, huh? So I got to thinking about it, and punching all those holes with the hammer and stuff like that and the nail was kind of a pain in the butt. So what's a smart move? Take a nail, drive it through a piece of wood, and use a file or a grinder, whatever, to sharpen the tip of the nail. So that way it gives you something to push against. So that way it acts like an awl or a punch or whatever you'd like to call it. But ingenuity. Let's get to working on this thing again. So next thing I did was I took a piece of paracord and I heated the end, and I used my fingers to make it into a point, and then I heated up the casing so that way it would be hard and, you know, kind of pack that in as well. So it acts as its own needle. Now, little tricks you learn. Now, I'm going to continue getting this thing strung up. Alright, so this is what we've ended up with. It's not pretty, it's not perfect, and I suspect that a few areas are probably going to rip as it starts turning into rawhide drying out. Now, this is my first time tying a hide up like this, and I mean, I know it's got some big holes in it. Okay, one there, small guy right there. That's fine, because honestly, this is a learning experience. You know, this is the first time that I've done it, and I can also see that I didn't flesh this as well as I thought I had. So, you know, that's okay. I'm going to end up reworking it anyway, but for right now, we're going to flip this thing around and we're going to start taking the hair off. So, I managed to enlist a few helpers. One's going to be standing over there. This one's going to be helping me take the hair off of this thing. So
I had one of my helpers help me keep the hide nice and wet. Biggest thing was that I wanted to knock off all the extra hair, but also at the same time, it being moist seemed to help remove the hair, and it was warm out, so the hide started drying.
So what ended up happening was that I had the hide strung up on the rack, and no matter how hard I tried, I had done it a little too quick. The hair would not come off. So what ended up happening was that I had to take it down and throw it back in my bin with the lye water. There was a problem. When I had pulled the hide out, a lot of the lye water come out with it. And I threw it back in the solution, and I was kind of hoping that there would be enough strength in it to help loosen up the hair, and I left it sit for another 3 days, and the problem is that there wasn't enough strength in it. So I had to go and get my lye, because I had left it at home and all this other kinds of crap. And, you know, I had like drove out here, saw that I couldn't get the hair off after 3 days, so I had to take the whole thing home, throw some more lye in it, let it soak for another 2 days. So I just got all the rest of the hair off. Now there's still little bits of the membrane. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw it in the bin. I cleaned out the bin. I'm going to throw it back in here, and I'm going to add some vinegar to the water to help neutralize the lye. Now, I don't know if this is going to do anything major. A gentleman that I know at work who has tanned several hides says this is a step he likes to do. We're going to give it a go. It can't hurt nothing, and I've got time, so why not? So I'm setting that up right now. After this step, I'm going to throw it back up on the rack, tie it back on there, and I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to go through and take off any last little bits of hair that I find. And you'll scrape the membrane off and everything else like that. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, it should be enough, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. There's still a few little bits of hair left on here. I'll scrape them off when it's dry. So, after throwing this hide back in here, I noticed something significant, and I don't know if it's major or if it's just me or what, but I had this thing sitting out for a while, and it felt very loose and very pliable, well, I was actually beginning to worry that I had let it soak for too long and that something was going on with it. But I threw it in this tub of cold water here with the vinegar, and I instantly noticed a difference. Instantly. I started touching the hide, and it feels like it's thickened up. It's gotten stiffer. It doesn't feel as thin. Now, I have no idea if that's because of the water is like ice cold, or if it's a reaction to the vinegar. But that's fairly interesting. So, we're going to let this soak for another day or so, and then we'll come back, string it up, make sure that it's all good, and then move on from there. So, I finally got the hide down, and again, I'm a little disappointed. I'm thinking this is a cautionary tale. You see, I was doing this here at the shop because there's more room than at my house or apartment. So everything has been fine for the most part, but there was a really bad windstorm, and it's my mistake for leaving this thing up. It was already dry. I should have took it down. So this is my fault. So while there's a few tears in this hide, I'm still going to use it. It's still good. There's 85 or more % that is still fine. And I'm going to utilize as much of this hide as I can, because that's the point. Why throw away something? And besides, this is my first attempt. You expect it to not be perfect. I didn't expect it to be perfect. I expected there to be plenty of mistakes, and there have been so far. But that's how we learn. I wish that the hide didn't tear, but that's my mistake for leaving it up. when I started doing this, I got a little antsy. I got a little excited to get the project going. The first mistake I did was not stirring the hide in the lye water. You need to do that every few hours, or at least once a day, from what I understand now. Because if you don't mix it up, things start to settle. The lye water will not permeate into the hide well enough to help you pull out the hair. Half of this thing, super easy to get the hair out. The other half, tough as nails. Second mistake I did was only leaving it in for 2 days. I need to leave it in longer than that in order for the hair to really slip. Now, I'm not saying that that always needs to be the case. This is a complete new experience for me. I don't have anything dialed in. So there's a little bit of something to be said for that, I feel. Next mistake, when I was dehairing it, I didn't do that properly. I was thinking, okay, you just got to pull the hair off. How hard is that? Rocket science, right? Well, there's actually a little bit more to that I didn't understand. I actually have purchased myself a fleshing knife for use with taxidermy. I got it for like 20 bucks there on eBay, and it's going to take a couple days to ship to me. I'm going to re-soak this hide and rework it because I need to properly remove the grain from the flesh side, or from the hair side, and I need to properly remove the mucus and stuff like that from the inside. I've been doing a little bit more research in the past couple of days, so it's been a process, and I understand a lot more now than I did when I began, and that right there is worth its weight in gold, I feel. Because the next hide that I do, I'll know what not to do. And I'll know how to better process down the road. Also, hopefully I shouldn't get so antsy. So just kind of take it as a cautionary tale. This is still usable. I'm still going to clean this up. I'm still going to brain tan it. I'm still going to smoke it. Unless this thing just completely dissolves, I ruin it to where it's not usable, or I burn it up in the smoking process, something will be made out of this. Regardless. Because, honestly, it would be a waste, I feel, of this animal, who somebody else killed. I mean, I helped them process the meat and everything else like that. But I would really feel bad if this was completely destroyed. You know, the knowledge that I would gain through the mistakes would be incredible, I suppose. I would know what not to do. However, I'd much rather have something that was usable. So, stick around. Let's see what we can do. It's all a learning experience, right? Check you next time.